When you see an avoidant after no contact, they will do this instantly, and most people miss it. The moment an avoidant sees you again after a period of silence, something fascinating happens inside them that they will never show on the surface. They instantly scan you, not with their eyes, but with their emotional radar. Avoidants are hyper-attuned to threat, pressure, expectations, or anything that feels like emotional demand. They won't rush to hug you, they won't show excitement, and they definitely won't reveal their internal reaction. Instead, the first thing they do, always, is evaluate your energy. They look for signs of, do you still want something from me? Or, are you still hurt? Or, are you about to expect closeness from me again? This is the private interrogation happening inside their head before they even say hello. But here's the secret. If your presence feels calm, grounded, and not emotionally hungry, they will instantly relax. You won't see their shoulders drop, but their nervous system does. And that invisible shift sets the stage for everything that happens next. Avoidants are terrified of emotional intensity, so the next thing they do, instantly, is try to regain emotional control. This is why when you see them again, their demeanor often looks cooler, quieter, or even slightly aloof. They're not doing this to hurt you. They're doing it to protect themselves from feeling pulled back into a connection they were afraid of. For avoidance, closeness equals danger, but distance equals oxygen. So after no contact, they will show subtle signs of guarding themselves. Crossed arms, a neutral face, controlled breathing, or even looking around instead of directly at you. They're scanning for safety. They're checking if you're about to bring up the past. They're checking if you're going to ask for clarity, closure, or emotional reassurance. They're checking if they still have to maintain distance to feel in control. And here's what's shocking. If you show up with calmness and a little mystery, their guard drops faster than you think. Because avoidants respond more to emotional neutrality than emotional pursuit. Then comes the part almost nobody notices. When an avoidant sees you after silence, they experience an instant flash of memory. Avoidants pretend they move on quickly, but they don't. They compartmentalize. So seeing you triggers everything they buried, your last conversation, your scent, your voice, the way you used to sit, the way you looked at them. They get a wave of familiarity they will never admit to. It's not dramatic, it's quiet, internal, like a soft punch to the chest, and their instinct is to hide it. They may smile politely or act casual, but inside they're dealing with a swirl of emotion they never prepared for. The avoidant brain does not like surprises, especially emotional ones, so they instantly try to suppress the feelings that rise. They switch into calm mode, even if the inside feels warm, anxious, or awkward. What they do next reveals everything. An avoidant will subtly test your emotional temperature. They might make a light joke, give a small nod, ask a surface-level question like, "How have you been?" or "Long time no see." When they do this, they're not trying to reconnect. They're trying to see if the air is safe. They're testing your vibe. Are you tense or relaxed? Are you trying to impress them? Are you looking at them with longing? Or have you genuinely moved forward? Avoidants obsess over subtle cues. They notice your tone, your posture, your confidence. They analyze whether you've changed since the last time. And here's the surprising part. Avoidants feel relieved when you appear emotionally strong and indifferent. It takes pressure off them. It tells their nervous system, "I'm safe, I'm not being pulled." And because of that, you'll often see them soften unexpectedly. Here's the thing most people don't realize. Avoidants don't hate closeness. They fear losing themselves in it. So when they see you after no contact, part of them wonders, is this going to pull me back in emotionally? That's why they observe rather than engage. They're trying to figure out whether reconnecting with you will feel peaceful or overwhelming. And your energy answers that question instantly. If you seem needy, hurt, emotional, or too warm, the avoidance shuts down. They will withdraw, become distracted, or keep the interaction short. But if you're calm, grounded, and self-contained, a different reaction happens. They feel curiosity. They wonder what changed in you. They try to understand why you're no longer emotionally leaning toward them. That curiosity is the beginning of their reattachment. Avoidants only move toward people who don't pressure them and don't emotionally corner them. Another fascinating thing happens instantly. The avoidant mirrors your emotional vibe without realizing it. If you're cold, they'll go colder. If you're neutral, they'll relax. If you're confident and peaceful, they'll act surprisingly open. Avoidants are like emotional thermostats. They calibrate based on the atmosphere. And the moment they sense you're not chasing them, their fear of closeness decreases. This is why after no contact, if you show up emotionally balanced, the avoidant becomes more talkative than usual. They might bring up random things or ask about your life. They aren't doing this because they suddenly want a relationship. They're doing it because their nervous system finally feels safe enough to step closer without fearing a trap. For avoidance, safety equals connection, pressure equals distance. When avoidants see you after silence, they also secretly notice your glow-up. Even if they act uninterested, they scan everything. Your confidence, your aura, your posture, your style, the tone of your voice. Avoidants are incredibly perceptive when their emotions are involved. If you improved, leveled up, or seem happier without them, they feel a private sting. Not enough to show it, but enough to remember it. That little sting becomes the seed of regret later. Avoidants rarely feel regret in the heat of conflict, but they feel it in moments like this. Quiet, unexpected, emotional moments when they realize you've changed. Something else happens instantly, and it's extremely important. Avoidants start preparing an exit strategy. Not because they want to leave, but because they always need the sense of control. They need to know they can escape if they feel overwhelmed. That's why they often keep interactions short. They'll say, "I have to run soon," or "I can't stay long," even if they don't have anywhere to be. It's not personal, it's self-regulation. But here's the interesting twist. If you remain calm, if you match their neutrality with quiet confidence, they end up staying longer than they plan. They break their own rule. That's when you know the interaction is shifting in your favor. And finally, here's the most unexpected thing an avoidant does instantly after seeing you again. They replay the entire interaction later. Not once, multiple times. They analyze what you wore, how you spoke, how you looked at them, whether your energy was different. Avoidants don't process emotions in real time. They process privately later when they're alone. This is when they feel the emotions they suppressed in front of you. This is when they feel the nostalgia, the pull, the memories, and sometimes even the longing. And if you played it cool, calm, and emotionally independent, this replay becomes powerful. It becomes the moment they realize they might still want you, quietly, cautiously, secretly. Avoidants don't come back when you chase them. They come back when they feel safe with you, and when they realize you're strong enough not to need them, but grounded enough to choose them. And seeing you after no contact is the moment that sets everything in motion. Not because of what you say, but because of who you've become while they weren't looking.